You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey, and welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall. And today we are getting into something every entrepreneur encounters sooner or later. Those times when you're just feeling stuck in your business, you are putting in all these hours, you are showing up, but the growth isn't there. And it can start to feel like no matter how much you're doing, you're not seeing the results that you expected. I have been there many days, and I know how frustrating it can be. So there were points in my journey where I was asking myself, why isn't this clicking? Or what's holding me back? And it's almost like you're pouring in so much energy, but it's not translating into real movement. And that can be tough to navigate. So today I wanted to talk with you about what it means to feel stuck, how to recognize the signs, and most importantly, practical ways to regain your momentum and keep moving forward. Because just because you're in this place right now doesn't mean that you're off track. It might actually be a sign to refocus or switch things up. By the way, if you're looking for some actionable steps to break free from that stuck feeling, I have created a free resource just for you, and it's called the 10 Ways to Get Unstuck Guide. It's packed with practical step-by-step actions, because you know I like some step-by-step, and you can work through this to bring fresh energy back into your business. You can grab the guide at blacktobusiness.com/getunstuck. But for now, let's get into today's solo short and sweet episode. So let's start by talking about what it means to feel stuck in your business. And this isn't about just being tired or overwhelmed. It's that moment when no matter how hard you're working, progress just is not happening. You might be putting in all these hours, tackling task after task, yet it feels like things aren't moving forward the way that you hoped. You know when you feel like that sense of momentum just isn't there. So what being stuck can look like is it can show up in different ways. Maybe you're constantly busy, juggling many emails or handling day-to-day operations, but somehow your big goals, they seem distant. Or you might find yourself doubting your decisions, second guessing each step because you're not entirely sure if you're on the right track. And sometimes it feels like no matter what you try, the results that you're looking for just aren't there. And I've been through this myself, and I remember pouring weeks into developing a new service. I was in Starbucks every morning, and I believed that it was exactly what my business needed to grow. And I was putting in all of this time, making sure that everything was perfect, getting people to look at it. But after launching this service, I realized I was still in the same place. I had checked off all the boxes, but the impact that I wanted to see just wasn't there. And that experience really taught me that sometimes being stuck is really just a reminder to step back, reassess, and get clear on what's actually making a difference in my business. So how do you recognize when you're stuck? Feeling stuck doesn't mean your business isn't working or that you're doing something wrong. Oftentimes it means it's time to pause and look closer at what's taking up your time and energy. And being stuck might also look like focusing on tasks that keep you busy but don't contribute to much overall growth for your business, or getting caught up in the projects that drain your energy without delivering those results. And these moments are a signal to pay attention to what's no longer working for you. So now that you recognize that you might be stuck, what's an actionable way to get out of this place? A great place to start is by taking a closer look at where your energy is going. So look at your tasks over the past week and ask yourself, what's taking up my time that isn't really moving me forward? And you might notice certain tasks that feel more like busy work than actual progress. Those are the things that's slowing you down. So start by jotting down these areas, as they often will highlight where you're feeling most stuck. And another step could be try tracking your energy and time for the week. Write down what you're working on and how you feel during and after each task. And you may notice patterns like spending too much time on admin tasks that take you away from the big picture planning. And recognizing where your energy is going is the first step to knowing what to shift or let go of to get that momentum back. Got it? Now let's talk about the importance of creating space to find clarity. This is my favorite thing to do to make sure that you are clear in your business. When we hit a stuck phase in our businesses, our immediate reaction is often to push even harder, thinking more effort will get us out of the rut. But I've found that sometimes pushing harder actually intensifies the burnout. So taking a pause and giving yourself some breathing room can bring you a fresh perspective that you've been needing. Stepping back isn't about taking your foot off the gas or losing that momentum. It's about giving yourself permission to look at things with fresh eyes and the freedom to think strategically. Sometimes even just a few hours away from the usual grind, without the emails, without the social media, or the daily to-do list can make a huge difference. And it's in these pauses that you're able to really see what's working, what's not working, and where your focus could be adjusted. And I remember a time when I was feeling like I was just going through the motions. I was handling all the things that needed to get done, but none of it seemed to move me closer to my larger goals. And I realized I was in a bit of a hamster wheel, just doing without much direction. So I decided to get clear my calendar for a day, and really focus solely on my business strategy. And I asked myself questions like, where do I actually want to be 6 months from now? And what would it look like if I focus on growth more than just keeping up with daily operations? And that one day of stepping back helped me recognize that I was spending too much time on things that weren't adding to my long-term vision. Creating that space also allowed me to get intentional, regroup, and map out my next steps with more clarity. So, making space for reflection. What does this look like? When you're caught in that cycle of constantly doing, the big picture can really get blurry. To break that cycle, set aside some time specifically for reflection. And it doesn't have to be an entire day like I did. Even on an afternoon, it can make a difference. So just remove yourself from the daily grind and let your mind explore the bigger questions. And this reflective space is often where patterns start to reveal themselves, and you'll notice areas that might be holding you back or aren't aligned with your goals. So a tip could be, if you're in that loop of constantly moving but not necessarily progressing, let's create a small framework for these reflection moments. And here are some powerful questions that you can ask yourself to get that clarity. The first question you want to ask is, what tasks or projects are draining my energy the most? And this question can reveal the things that might be taking more from you than they're giving. Sometimes we get so caught up in these tasks that we don't realize they're no longer serving the business. The second question you want to ask is, what activities feel the most impactful and fulfilling? Impactful and fulfilling. So think about the things that not only push the business forward, but also leave you feeling energized. When you know what brings you fulfillment, you can start building your work around it and creating more opportunities to focus on these impactful areas. And then the third question is, where do I want my business to be a year from now? By setting clear vision for your business, you're giving yourself a target to aim for, because it's easy to get lost in those daily tasks when there isn't a long-term goal guiding your actions. So I want to take it a step further. Once you've answered these questions, take a note of any areas that are consistently pulling your energy in the wrong direction. And these are often places where you might need to shift your focus or even let go of certain tasks. And answering these questions will start to show you where your efforts are best spent and where you might be spreading yourself too thin. So instead of always focusing on doing more, as we like to do, sometimes the solution lies in creating that quiet space to recalibrate. And this is the time to be intentional and to remember that stepping back is part of moving forward. Got it? Okay, so once you've taken that time to clear your mind and get that fresh perspective, the next step is reconnecting with your core goals. I think that when we lose sight of what really matters, that's when it's easiest to feel unmotivated or even aimless. We end up working on tasks that seem important but don't truly serve our vision. And that's often what adds to that stuck feeling, the sense that you're busy but not necessarily productive in a way that's meaningful. In moments like this, it's crucial to go back to the basics of your why. Revisit the original purpose that inspired you to start your business in the first place. Why did you choose this path? Who are you here to serve? And what difference are you trying to make? And I want to give you a little tough love here, but sometimes I think that feeling stuck is a sign that we've drifted away from the core mission. So taking that time to reconnect with it can reignite that passion and give you that renewed sense of direction. I think of the time in my business when I was caught up in the day-to-day operations. I was putting out fires left and right, dealing with the little things and just keeping everything moving. And it felt like I was on autopilot. And even though I was doing all the tasks, there was still this disconnect. I wasn't feeling the same drive or the connection to my work, and I realized I drifted away from the heart of my business. So I made myself pause and really think about, why did I start Black to Business in the first place? And my mission has always been to empower Black entrepreneurs, to create resources, and to build a supportive community. But it was at that moment that I realized I needed to shift my focus back to those core elements: community building and educational resources. And that reconnection to my purpose was exactly what I needed to break out of that rut, because I was in a rut. And it reminded me of my impact and made my goals feel purposeful again. So what does it look like to create this path forward? How can you bring this clarity into your own business? And you want to start by identifying 3 core goals that align directly with your mission. And these should be the big picture goals that represent the why behind what you do. And you want to think of them as the guiding stars that will keep you focused no matter what comes your way, because business is tough, but you have to have these 3 core goals in place. And the first goal is focus on the impactful goals. Once you have these 3 main goals, take it a step further and narrow them down to just one core focus, and the one that will make the biggest impact right now. You don't have to think about all 3, because it's easy to get caught up in trying to tackle multiple things at once. But narrowing down to one priority allows you to give it attention and energy it deserves. And secondly, you want to align your daily actions with your priority goal. So with that single priority in mind, look at your current tasks and see, how do they align to the single priority? Are there things that you're doing that support these main goals? And are there tasks that don't? And this is a chance for you to realign your daily actions with your purpose, so your time is going towards what really matters the most. And third, you want to check your progress regularly. I know this is a tough one, because as business owners, oftentimes we think, I don't have the time. But having that clarity around your main focus makes it easier to track progress and stay motivated. So I want you to make it a habit to check in on this priority goal weekly, or I'll go a little light on you and say monthly, to see how far you're moving the needle. And this doesn't mean other goals won't get the attention that they deserve. They just don't need to be your primary focus right now. So I want you to remember, building a business that aligns with your purpose isn't about juggling a million things. It's about working intentionally on the things that truly matter. So identifying a single goal that aligns with your mission and giving it the energy it deserves can bring you out of that quote unquote stuck phase and create momentum in a meaningful direction. So shifting back to your core goals not only simplifies your workload, but it also helps you feel connected to your business again. And I believe it's that sense of purpose and direction that keeps you grounded and really moving forward, even when these challenges in business come up. And this way, you're focused on the goals that matter most, and the progress you make will be in the areas that truly reflect your vision and your mission. Now that we got that covered, I want to talk about finding quick wins and using it to create that momentum. Because when you're feeling stuck, sometimes the best way to break out of it is by finding quick wins that give you that sense of accomplishment, like that adrenaline rush. And these are those manageable, bite-sized tasks that don't take long to complete, but they're still bringing that real progress in your business. So when you're feeling bogged down, these little victories that you're having can give you a sense of control and motivation that gradually builds into something bigger. So it's like giving yourself a boost that says, okay, I'm actually moving forward. I'm actually doing things. And a quick win can look like anything from updating your business social media profile, or following up on a lead, or organizing your workspace. It can be very simple. But the beauty of these small actions is that while they're not massive changes, they do add up. And this sense of consistent progress is often what helps you feel that re-energizing feeling that you need and ready to tackle those bigger things that once felt like overwhelm. And I think of the times in my business where I was entirely focused on big, ambitious goals and things that would take months or even years to achieve. And while those things are essential, I found myself getting drained because every milestone felt so far away. It was just little old me. So it felt so far. And it felt like I was pouring all this energy into something that I couldn't yet see the results of, which made it easy to feel like I wasn't doing enough. I felt stuck. But I remember one particular time when I decided to focus on a few simple tasks that had been on my list for a while. Things like tweaking my website homepage or sending out a few follow-up emails to some past clients. These weren't big moves, but they were quick wins. And I'll tell you, the feeling of checking them off my list was enough to lift that little weight. And it helped me feel more in control. And then it also got me excited about the bigger tasks again. And I love the episode we had in the past with Gene Alert, and he really got me into the mode of writing things down and getting into the habit of checking things off in a notepad. And that really made me feel like I was accomplishing things. I'm a little old school, so I like the notepad and pen versus digital. But what he talked about is like when you are writing things down and you're checking them off with a pen, you're really seeing who's doing the work. So anyway, let's get started with some quick wins. So first, you want to identify tasks with immediate impact. So you want to look around your business and find tasks that can be completed in a short time, but they still move you closer to your goal. And maybe it's reaching out to a few clients, organizing that office space, or even going through and unsubscribing for emails that clutter your inbox. Like, I have to take time to actually do that, but when I do it, I feel so accomplished. And these are the small tasks that might seem minor, but each one brings you a step closer to feeling more productive and more unstuck. And then second, I would say pick tasks that build momentum. So you want to choose actions that can create a ripple effect, like setting up a day to send follow-up emails to previous clients or reconnecting with past contacts. And when you do this, you're not just accomplishing one task. You're setting up a chain reaction of opportunities, conversations, and new connections that could lead to something more. And another tip I would say is focus on consistency over perfection. This is something I had to really learn. So a lot of times we hesitate to take steps because, well, those small steps, because we feel like every move has to be flawless. But in reality, it's the consistent small actions that add up. So instead of waiting for everything to be just right, take those imperfect actions that still push you forward. And it's so funny because I was talking to a business friend of mine the other day, and she was thinking, oh, she was setting up a table to vend. And she was thinking, oh my God, my table is going to look so small in comparison. And she had this nice cover, backdrop, all the things. And when she got there, she said, everyone was complimenting me. And I was telling her, I was saying, sometimes we think that things we do are small, but to other people, they're really big. And sometimes your small is even still really big. And then the fourth thing I would say is make it a habit to track that progress, as I spoke about early. So with these quick wins, it's easy to overlook the impact because they are small and they may not seem as significant as these larger projects. And that's why even your small wins, tracking those can be powerful, because every little checkbox that you check off or small task that you accomplish, it adds up to that sense of momentum that's going to help you stay motivated. And if you are ready to start building that momentum with some actionable steps, don't forget to check out the 10 Ways to Get Unstuck guide. It's packed with clear, as I mentioned, actionable advice to help you break out of that rut and regain that momentum. So you can grab that at blacktobusiness.com/get unstuck. And building momentum doesn't have to always mean tackling the biggest project on your list. Sometimes it's about giving yourself those consistent reminders that progress is still happening. So these small steps, they add up. Even one pushing you closer to your larger vision for your business. And another great way to get unstuck is by doubling down on what you're naturally good at. So we often think growth is about fixing your weaknesses. Like we just can't move forward until everything is perfect or every skill is perfect. But focusing on your strengths can lead you to faster, more sustainable progress because it keeps you energized and operating in a space where you thrive. So leaning into your strength doesn't just make things easier, it often opens doors to bigger opportunities and makes your work feel more fulfilling. So there was a time in my business when I was trying to be all things. I thought I had to handle every area perfectly. But I soon realized that my real strength was in community building and creating educational content. So I decided to focus there. And by letting go of areas where I wasn't as strong, I could fully commit to my strengths, which makes growth much easier and faster. So how do you turn your strength into growth? First, you want to identify and embrace your unique strength. Take a moment to consider what you're genuinely good at. Are you a natural communicator? Are you skilled at building relationships? Or perhaps you're detail-oriented in ways that others might find challenging. List out the things that you excel at and then think about how you can lean into them even more. Sometimes by just acknowledging these strengths can remind you of where you're most effective. And then the second thing is focus on high impact activities. So once you've identified your strengths, look for ways to use them on tasks that move the needles. So for example, if you're great with people, consider focusing on networking, consider focus on client relationships or community engagement. If content creation comes naturally to you, find ways to amplify your voice and share your insights. And these are the kind of activities that not only play to your strengths, but also create real, lasting impact. And the third thing is you want to delegate or streamline weaknesses. So often the things that keep us feeling stuck are areas where we don't feel strong. Often the things that keep us feeling stuck are areas where we don't feel strong. And I repeat that because I want you to know that it's okay to let go of tasks that drain you or that you struggle with. So for instance, if you find bookkeeping is challenging, it might be worth it to delegate that to someone else or use an easy accounting tool. So don't be afraid to look for tools. Don't be afraid to get support or help or even small scale outsourcing to handle those tasks that aren't your forte. It doesn't make you any less capable. In fact, it really frees you up to do what you're truly best at. And then the fourth thing you want to do is you want to celebrate wins from your strength zone. So as you focus on your strengths, take notes of the wins that come from those areas. Not only does this build momentum, but it also reinforces that your unique skills are a real asset to your business. So whether it's getting positive feedback on a workshop that you led or seeing an uptick in engagement from content that you created, these are markers of growth that show you are on the right track. So the takeaway here is leaning into your strengths isn't about ignoring the rest. It's about prioritizing what you're naturally good at to create a more efficient, enjoyable, and impactful business journey. So focusing on your strength lets you work from a place of confidence and authenticity, which not only benefits your business, but it keeps you energized and it keeps you excited about what's next. Got it. Now, another essential part of breaking out of a rut is reevaluating the way you approach your daily operations. Sometimes the feeling of being stuck doesn't just come from a lack of motivation, it's really tied to the systems and routines that we rely on. Processes that once felt productive can really start to feel stale over time, especially as our businesses grow and evolve. So by revisiting and tweaking these processes, you can make sure that they are still in alignment with where your business is today, which helps you regain a sense of control and purpose. So I can't tell you how many times I have clung to a particular way of doing things simply because it was what I was used to. And I think it's important to reassess because it's easy to fall into patterns that feel comfortable, even if they're not necessarily efficient. And as entrepreneurs, we have to remain adaptable and be willing to refresh our approaches when our businesses need change. So sometimes it's these small but intentional shifts that lead to major breakthroughs. So here's some steps to reassess and streamline. First, you want to identify your top 2 to 3 time-consuming processes. Second, you want to evaluate alignment with current goals. And then the third thing you want to do is experiment with small changes for big impact. So what this means is once you've identified an area to improve, try making small but impactful adjustments. And you don't have to overhaul everything at once. Start by automating parts of the process like using scheduling tools for social media, outsourcing specific tasks like hiring a freelancer for designer work, or even changing the order in which you tackle certain tasks. Often these small shifts can make your day-to-day operations feel more manageable and productive. And then the fourth thing you want to do is monitor the results and adjust as needed. So keeping your business processes flexible and adaptable isn't just about saving time. It's about keeping your focus on high-impact activities that align with your goals. And the beauty of reassessing your approach is that it can bring renewed energy to your daily routines, helping you tackle tasks with a clearer purpose. All right, so as we wrap up today's episode, let's bring it all together. I always say short and sweet, and I'm trying to get these down a little bit more, but it's so much I want to share with you all. Anywho, when it comes to getting unstuck, remember it's not about trying to change everything at once. It's about taking steady, intentional steps. So we talked about recognizing when you're feeling stuck and using that as a signal to step back and get clear on what matters most. Creating that space, refocusing on core goals, finding those quick wins, and leaning into your strengths are all powerful ways to start moving forward again. And those regular check-ins, they're like your compass maps, keeping you aligned and ensuring you're moving in the right direction without drifting off course. And they help you stay focused on what's important, giving you perspective so you can keep your momentum without burning out. Nobody wants that. And if you're feeling like you could use a little bit more guidance in addition to today's conversation through these steps, don't forget to grab the 10 ways to get unstuck guide at blacktobusiness.com/get unstuck. It's filled with some actionable steps, fillable PDFs, all the fun things for you to get realigned, for you to focus, and for you to build momentum in ways that are practical and easy to implement. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the Black to Business podcast. Keep pushing forward, stay focused on what truly matters, and remember, you've got this. And every step you take, no matter how small, is moving you closer to your vision. So until next week, keep building and keep pushing the culture forward.